Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Claudia Monticelli with another episode of Multiple Voices. My Multiple Voices podcast, true to its name, includes different series. For example, we have the Voices of Love, where we discuss relationships, the voice of empowerment, the voice of laughter and play, the voice of pleasure, and the magical voice of archetypes and how they change the way we live. But we also have the voice of memory that includes everything from history to discussions of past life regression. There's also writing voices, where we interview both seasoned writers and authors who have just started getting their feet wet with writing, and we learn what can work for you as potential writers. Our series called Voice of the Spirit discusses different forms of spirituality and religion. And then Channeling Voices is a series that covers what happens when you channel, but is also extended to mediumship. Take a moment to review this podcast if you've enjoyed listening, and leave a hearty 5 stars. I'd appreciate it. Enjoy your listening. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Claudia Monticelli with another episode of my podcast, Multiple Voices. I have here with me today Sara Webb. Say hello, Sara, to our audience.
Hello. How are you, Claudia?
I'm wonderful. I'm so glad that you could come and join us and take
you.
time out of your life. She's talking to us from Florida. And so let me first introduce her. She is an author, Sara Webb. She's an author, a motivational speaker, and a certified yoga teacher. She considers herself a spiritual activist. I'll start with that and remind me. And she chooses the nomenclature as opposed to the traditional terminology of coach that normally people would use. She advocates for clients, and this is, I guess, the activist side. She advocates for clients and audiences to find their own power within by getting aligned with themselves through spirituality, through introspection that begins with meditation. Now, I know that you have a book that's coming out and we'll talk about that. But let me start by asking you, what role has spirituality had in your life?
Oh, gosh. My spiritual journey is my entire journey. I was raised in the church in the South of the United
What
States.
church was that?
Well, it was the Protestant church, Baptist church,
Okay.
Southern Baptist to be specific.
What is it, a family tradition, that religious background?
Yes, both of my parents come from strong religious roots. My mom was raised Catholic and my dad Baptist. And I went to Pentecostal church when I was little, but then we all switched over to the Baptist church, and I was there on Sunday morning. I sang in the choir on Sunday night.
Oh, well.
We went on Monday night for red beans and rice.
Until what age?
On Wednesday night for church group.
Age?
And then I went to school there Monday through Friday. So I was at the church a lot. And
how up until what age?
Until I graduated from high school. We were steeped in religion. And I heard very often that the way that I knew that I was, because I'm gay, I knew that I couldn't be out and that I couldn't be open with my family.
Did that area, I mean, when I hear those religions, does it have anything to do with the Bible Belt?
Yes. I was raised in the Bible Belt.
That's what it sounds like.
Sure,
All right. Now, can you give us a definition of the Bible Belt, a broad definition for our audience?
That's an interesting term. I think that a lot of people have different ideas about it, but to me, it's just an area of the country where it's very commonplace for everyone to have a very specific religion, and for everyone to go to church on Sunday, and for businesses to be closed on Sunday, and for you to basically be an outcast if you don't believe in the same religion that everyone else does. It's very monotheistic.
Also have, this is a question, I mean, does it also have a connotation, a political connotation, say right-wing area? of
It can.
politics?
It
Uh-huh.
definitely
But
can.
not
Yes.
always. Uh-huh.
Yes. Well,
Okay.
especially because of some of the values, the Christian values that they promulgate from the pulpit against
Mm-hmm.
abortion and against homosexuality and
Uh-huh.
just against free choice, but being
Mm-hmm.
pro-life, although
Right.
they don't care
Um,
about the life of the person who's already
yeah.
alive.
It's interesting that when I, led with the question of what does spirituality mean for you, it went right into the institutionalized religions.
Because I was
And
steeped in it, but
yeah,
I found my own
oh,
spirituality
okay. So
later on
let's
in
move
life.
on to that. Go ahead. After high
Yes.
school, what happened?
I went to college and started doing a lot of my own research and really lost my spirituality there for a little while. But I started doing yoga at the age
Mm-hmm.
of 18, 19 years old at a gym. I started doing yoga because I couldn't do traditional workouts anymore. I had had some traumas with a few car accidents that had
Mm-hmm.
really injured my cervical spine. And yoga was very accessible. And it was within yoga that I meditated for the first time. And I
Okay.
still,
All right. Now let's go back to that first time of meditation.
yes,
How was it, let's say, guided or favored? How did it occur that first time
I think that there's
for you?
really a lot of magic in using kinesthetic awareness or getting out that kinesthetic energy before sitting down to meditation. I oftentimes tell audiences and clients to sit down sweaty. If you have trouble meditating, if you can sit down sweaty. So I think that that was maybe what happened with me. I know for a fact that it was at the end of one of the yoga sessions. She had us lying in Shavasana and she was guiding us through this
What is
chakra.
that for those of
Shavasana is
hmm
the final resting pose, corpse pose, where after you've done all these limbering activities, then you just lay down and rest.
hmm
And it's really rejuvenating and very energizing. And during that, she was leading us through a visualization
okay,
and said that you might see, and I had already seen in my third eye, the place where we imagine things,
mind's
I
eye,
had
yeah.
seen this little like purple kind of wispy light. And then she said, you might see a little bit of violet. And I went up to her afterwards and I'm like, oh my gosh,
I
I
did.
saw it. That was amazing. How do I learn about more of this? And
hmm
so I started reading books and really seeking my own meditation, which it
Uh-huh.
took me many, many years to find
Okay,
a regular meditation
yeah.
practice.
Now, everyone has a different form of meditation practice. We're all unique, right? In your case, what did you opt for? And is it always the same? Does it change? And if it does, why?
I think that yes, it's it depends on the person, but I'm a creative, I'm a writer, I'm a speaker, and I like to switch things up. So it took me a little while to find the kind that works for me. I finally
hmm
found TM or transcendental meditation, which
hmm
sounds really scary and
hmm
esoteric, but it's a mantra based meditation and it does require a teacher. A certified TM teacher taught me for 4 days in a row, 2 hours each.
hmm
And he gave me my own mantra, my own
Okay.
personal mantra, which is just a thought word sound that doesn't mean anything in
Right.
any language. And that, because I was allowed to continue to think as I thought this little thought word sound,
Yeah.
that is where the magic was for me. But I had tried
Okay.
lots of different kinds. I had gone to Buddhist temples and participated in things at yoga
Sure.
studios. I did a Deepak
Sure.
Chopra course. And
hmm
I think that it just is a matter of finding the kind that works for you because mindfulness just didn't seem to work for me.
That's something else, isn't it?
I
It's
think it is.
something
Yeah.
else, mindfulness. It's actually, it requires you to become aware of something, and meditation not necessarily does. So, what I'm curious about through your description is you had someone who guided you. You saw the light, that little purple light, just so to
Hmm.
speak.
Hmm.
And then you decided to develop that or try to hone the skill of meditation. Why? What was it about having seen? What did it give you?
I was just drawn to it. I just wanted to know more, and it felt very relaxing.
Okay.
And I don't know, I think it's just part of my dharma, because
Hmm.
currently my vision for the world is that everyone will have a regular meditation practice.
Hmm.
And that is a rather valiant vision, and I know it, but I think that it interested me because it's part of my soul calling.
Hmm.
And so I've spent a lot of time honing my own meditation practices, and I'm developing my own that I'm teaching my clients. I create custom meditations for my individual clients as well as my group clients.
Hmm. And because you work with clients and you suggest to them a certain practice and you create a personal meditation for them, uh, how long do you suggest they put aside for meditation?
Mm, great question. The Buddha said that we should sit for at least 20 minutes in meditation every day,
Hmm.
unless we are very busy. And then we should sit for an hour. And I advocate for as much time as you possibly can muster in order to start the habit. For a lot of people whose
What habit?
brains, the habit
Start.
of meditation.
Okay.
So it's about establishing the habit. Maybe it
Hmm.
starts with 3 minutes twice a day, or even 5 minutes once a day. There are a number of different hacks that I give people. Let's say you, every single morning, you pour your coffee, and while you wait for it to cool, you go and check social media, or you go and put on your
Hmm.
makeup. What if you just get up 5 or 8 minutes early,
Hmm.
and while you pour your coffee and wait for it to cool, sit back and go inside and maybe be intentional about your day, or just
Hmm.
notice how your body's feeling, or maybe you make a gratitude list in your mind, or maybe you say some affirmations to yourself during this time. There's so many different ways to meditate, but
Hmm.
I'd love to give you some statistics as to why meditation works. I'd love to share with you some statistics that I've found in my own personal readings
Uh-huh.
and put together about why
Mhm.
meditation works in our brains and our
Okay.
bodies. Just
Shoot.
some little biology and
Sure,
neuroscience.
sure.
Scientists have postulated
Hmm.
that all around us, no matter where we are, if we're in a busy city or on top of a mountain, there are billions of bits of data available to us.
Of
And the
course.
human brain is pretty amazing. Our brains process around 11 million bits per second,
Hmm.
which sounds like a lot, but we're only conscious of between 40 and 50 of those 11 million bits per second.
Hmm. 40,
I did the
50 or
math.
40, 50,000
Between 40,
or 40 or
exactly.
50. Hmm.
It's on average 45 out of the 11 million bits per
Okay.
second. And I
Hmm.
did the math there. That means that we're conscious of 0.04% of everything that's available to us.
Hmm.
99.96% of all of the information that's hitting our brains and our bodies is being processed by what? Our subconscious. This is how we have gut feelings, how we have
Sure.
intuitions, how we just know things.
Hmm.
I'll give you one more statistic and then I'll tie them together. We have five senses, of course, we know. In our bodies, we have 11 million sensory receptors.
Uh-huh.
10 million out of the 11 million are dedicated to one sense, and that is our
Hmm.
sight.
Hmm.
So if you want to access that 99.96% of information that's already inside of you that you're not consciously aware of, then we just simply shut off 10 million of our 11 million sensory receptors and go inside so that we
Hmm.
can listen. It's like if you have a strong faith, some people say prayer is talking to God and meditation is listening,
Hmm.
because it's getting quiet enough so that that subconscious can actually bubble up. It's
Okay.
literally accessing the brain waves that are associated with the subconscious. When we're
Hmm.
first born, we're in those lower level frequency brain waves. It isn't until we're about 8, 9, 10 years old that we get up into beta brain waves, which is
Uh-huh.
what most adults are in at most times of the day. And when we're really stressed, we're in high beta. Well, in order to get out of that, you need to slip into alpha,
Hmm.
theta, and delta. Those are the stages of sleep. Alpha is that first stage of sleep,
Hmm.
theta, and then delta is that deep sleep. And most meditation is in that very first stage. So it's not really a hypnosis where it is self-hypnosis. I mean, meditation
It
is
is.
hypnotizing ourselves,
That's what
but it's
happens
not
with
a hypnosis
hypnosis.
where we're not aware, right?
Well,
Even though
hypnosis is being aware as well.
absolutely. And
Hmm.
I've had some very deep hypnosis work that's been incredibly profound in my life. And because I was a regular meditator, it came very easy for me. And I was able to
Let
really,
me ask you, you mentioned uh, praying is speaking to the divine and meditation is listening. So what
yeah.
do you hear?
Oh my
You
gosh, all
obviously
kinds of things.
go back and you hear some more. So, and if you keep doing it, I can safely say, well, Sarah, she's hooked on meditation because it's giving her something. All right. Can you pick out um, a few days, a few meditations that you have occurred to you that you've gone through where they were so illuminating and why?
Yes.
Hmm. If you
First
don't
of all,
mind. Hmm.
I think it's very important that we don't sit down to meditation with an expectation.
Hmm.
I think it's important to just be open
Hmm.
and allow, because if we're trying, then we're going to
Hmm.
stay in that beta brainwave,
Hmm.
which is where we operate most of the time. But if we relax into it and allow and stop trying to push the river, which is what we're doing all day long in our normal daily lives, is trying to control things and manipulate things. And but if we can just sit down and allow ourselves to get quiet and allow the body to get quiet, and maybe that's focusing on a mantra or our breath.
Hmm.
But yes, I will illuminate some particularly wonderful things. I mean, I've had some incredibly transformative experiences. I've also had poetry dropped in my head.
Hmm.
The other day, I had an incredible synchronicity where I thought of my friend and I reached out to her and she said, I was just thinking about you in my
Hmm.
meditation. And it's like we connected in there. I had an experience where I felt completely weightless and I felt like my body was expanding as big as the room. And I had to look down and make sure that I was all still
Hmm.
in one piece. And I firmly believe that I was feeling my aura. And I also had another experience where it was like there was a bubble forming around me every time I would sit down, because I meditate for 20 minutes twice a
Uh-huh.
day. And every time I would sit down, this orb would just get bigger and bigger.
Hmm.
And then I saw in my mind's eye, I felt this presence, this energy come in around 8 o'clock or 4 o'clock, depends on
Hmm.
which way you're looking at the clock here.
Hmm.
And I got a little afraid. But
Hmm.
then I've had other experiences since then where I've communicated with this entity and
Uh-huh.
found that they were there to help me. And so, I mean, it's just one of my spirit guides that was
Okay,
very
was there
early on.
a color attached to this entity?
Gosh, it was so many years ago. I don't
Hmm.
remember if there was a color. I didn't
Hmm.
feel a sensation, but
Okay.
I have spirit guides that are with me all the time for
Well, that's what
sure.
spirit guides are for, isn't it? I mean,
Right.
they're with us, or else they wouldn't be called guides. This brings me to the question because you mentioned, I was introducing you that you're an author, and I know you have a book coming out. I'll ask you about that specific book in a moment, but can you envision, or perhaps for this book, did your meditations bring you information
Mhm.
to, or did
Absolutely.
you channel something through the meditations and publish it in your book?
Yes, that's
Okay.
exactly what happened. I was
All
already
right.
in the midst of compiling this book. It's
Mm-hmm.
called Look Lush. It's
Sorry?
original. The name of the book is called
Yeah.
Look Lush, LOOKLUSH, Look Lush.
Okay.
The first 21 poems are entitled Look, that's part one. And it's about me using meditation to heal from a deep sexual trauma that I have completely eradicated from my life and from my
Mm-hmm.
sphere that occurred in 2008.
Amen.
It doesn't go into great detail about it. It's not gruesome or lewd or
Mm-hmm.
anything, but it is more focused on looking inside and how
Mm-hmm.
looking inside, i.e., meditation,
Right.
is where we begin to heal. The second part of the book is 34 poems entitled Lush.
Mm-hmm.
And that is very aptly named because lush is something that's maybe prolifically green, maybe it's really beautiful. Also, the word lush in the United States,
Sensuous. Mm.
for sure sensuous, and it also means something it also is slang for someone who drinks too much. And
Ah, I
in
didn't never heard that
2019,
before.
okay, in the United States, we'll call some people a lush if they
Oh,
are.
yes, of course. I've heard that before, but not only for drinking. I've heard a person being called a lush if they were generally in a if they generally had a personality of being over sensuous and bringing themselves forward. Yeah, but in this case, in your book, what is the real meaning of lush?
So these 34 poems deal directly with me utilizing the power of nature,
Hmm.
the power within through meditation to come out of the closet and get sober. I came
Okay.
out and got sober in the year of 2019. I also got a divorce, and
Hmm.
I was 80 something days sober when quarantine hit. So
Oh,
I went to the beach, being located in Florida. I went to the beach a lot, and I was dating, and then now I have married the love of my
again.
life.
Hmm.
And so that outlines that story. It's an art piece, and you can read the book in less than an hour.
Hmm.
It is a precursor to a memoir as well
All
as a
right,
self
so we
help
have a
book.
memoir. A memoir is coming.
Yes,
You have a
there are many
working
in the
title?
pipeline. I do not yet, but
Okay.
I have an incredibly lush life in order to outline. I'm also working on a children's book, but
Hmm.
that's all undisclosed information. I'm a writer, and so this is my first attempt, and I'm really excited to get it out. It is released, or I'm sorry, my book is out. It was
Okay.
released just a few days ago,
Ago, yeah.
and it's available on Amazon as well as
Uh-huh.
barnesandnoble.com in print for about
Hmm.
$9. It's a paperback, 88 pages, or you can do digital download for about $4.
Okay. Do
And
you
so
you sign it Sarah Maya Webb or Sarah Webb?
Sarah Webb, Sarah Maya Webb, it's
Hmm.
whatever you like. Yeah. I
Hmm.
I decided to put my middle name on there, but it's
Okay.
because
So
there's
so
another author who's Sarah Webb. So I
oh, I
decided to
see.
just make that
Put in that
distinction.
Maya. So that means that from poems, there will be a narrative nonfiction. It's a memoir, right?
Mhm.
Memoir would be narrative nonfiction, correct?
And
And
transformational nonfiction is in the works as well. In
okay.
fact, if you just follow me on Instagram, you'll find most of my transformational nonfiction in the captions and in the
Hmm.
reels because I put out lots of information about meditation, about healing, about gratitude,
Uh-huh.
affirmations, and just good habits
Hmm.
and overall just being positive. And I'm really big on not having toxic positivity as part of my
Hmm.
message, but
What is
allowing
toxic
ourselves.
positivity to you?
That's like when we tell people that, oh, you're having a bad day, but look on the bright side.
Hmm.
And of course, yes, finding the silver lining in things and leaning into gratitude is incredibly important. But it's also important for us to feel our emotions, allow
Hmm.
ourselves to pass through it and not wallow in it. I think that
Hmm.
a lot of people, especially who have experienced trauma like I have, either they do one of two things. They either completely shove it down
Hmm.
or they kind of live in that space. And I
Hmm.
think it's a matter of just keeping the flow going because really life is a series of expansions and contractions. Expansions and contractions. You look at the seasons, the tides, our heartbeats,
Dynamic.
our
It is
lungs.
dynamic. Hmm.
Yep. And so it's a matter of if things are stagnant, if we stay in one place, if we stay stuck, then it's not allowing that natural ebb and flow of life in order to keep the flow going.
All right. Well, let's see. I'm looking here and I see your website so people can find you. Um, let's see, I have the LinkedIn. All right. It's www.sarawebsays, correct? And
Yeah, that's
the Instagram is Sarah Webb Says, and so is LinkedIn, Sarah Webb Says.
right.
Great, great. And there they can find information about how to order your book and
Sure.
any of the other things that they would need. Is there anything else that you would want to point them to on your website?
I'm an inspirational speaker. as well as I do group coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I'm more of a spiritual activist
Mm-hmm.
because I think that coach really pigeonholes people. And I like to advocate for people. And I'm not one of those coaches who says you need to sign up for an
Yeah.
8-month program or be with me for 2 years. I try to set people up on their meditation path and
Mm-hmm.
then let them go about their journey. And
Good.
so, yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
love to speak and write. And I'm just a communicator, a super
All right.
communicator. I'm trying to come up with one word because there are a lot of us who are authors, coaches, and
Well, you
speakers.
don't
And
need one
we're just
word.
little wordies, right?
You're a person who communicates. Sarah, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today.
Thank
And
you,
I'm
Claudia.
sure you will be getting feedback from my listeners and viewers who have the opportunity to hear what you have to say. Thanks again.
Thank you so much. Many blessings to you.
Bye bye.